You just turned 40.
Yes.
Have you already, because this is what I did when I turned 40. I started promising myself things that I wanted in my 20s, or started making declarations that were really, really stupid to wait until I was 40 to start making about what I wasn't going to put up with anymore. So a lot of it was, well, I never got this in my 20s, but now I'm going to get that thing that I've been, that I said that I should have had at 20. Thinking that life owed me that, and what you learn is life owes you nothing. You owe yourself. Right. So that was sort of like lesson number one for me relative to that of the turning 40. Then there was man, I ain't putting up with that no more. I'm 40. And then the logic was, well, why'd you wait? You could have started putting up with this or stopped putting up with it at 35 or 30. Would you wait so long? Why did you waste your 30s putting up with that and stop putting up with it now? So a lot of times those things can have an impact on your dating mindset, because I think we're as strong in our dating mindset as we are in terms of our sense of self-worth. We are able to put our best person representative forward for that 6 months where we're all BSing, trying to put the best person out there, so that by the time you figure out my crazy, you don't want to leave. So month 7, when you kind of go, okay, yes, I really am this crazy in this way. Please don't leave, because I kind of like you now. A lot of that stuff can be influenced by or at least I'm learning can be influenced by those things very early on in those late teens, college years. So now, relative to all of that, how would you say, how is it different? What are some of those differences? How has that shaped you now where you are? And I think 40 is perfect because it's sort of the beginning of you being your fully realized self.
This should be entertaining.
I mean, I'm spitballing here, but what do you think when you hear all of that?
Honestly, that has been something on my mind with aging. I don't know if this is something that men contemplate, but there's a biological clock for women. So then it kind of comes up with the age. What am I going to do? How's it going to happen? And honestly speaking, I would say for me personally, I don't know about everybody else. All of my experiences led me to where I am in the sense that I made really bad choices, but they were good choices because I had to really learn from them. And, like you mentioned, the representative, I had to learn in what ways I was doing that, because in a lot of ways I didn't think I was misrepresenting myself or being dishonest. And I would say I had a fairly bad breakup. I don't even know how many years ago, but it was a good time for me to go, hey, wait, let's dial it back. Like you said about the age thing and getting old, let's dial it back and figure out what is the problem. Because it's very easy to blame the other person, their actions or any kind of circumstance without really having a hard look and saying, hey, how did I participate in this? So as far as, like you mentioned, hey, I'm 40, I'm not putting up with this. I think for me, I didn't even realize it was a matter of putting up with. It was not really being self-aware or mindful, in the sense that, from the time I was 13 or 14, whenever you get together with girlfriends, they're like, okay, it's a girl talk thing, right? Right. Oh, he's cute. What did he say? How, and all that kind of nonsense, right? Oh, what was he wearing? What do you think? What was his tone? And as you get older, the breaking down of the conversation or the date or what have you becomes more involved. And But one thing that's always constant is, okay, well, did you think this guy has potential? Okay, well, don't push it. Just be cool and casual and relaxed and see where it goes, and then, you kind of check in with the girlfriends. How's it going? What's happening? And then it comes to, okay, now you have to have the talk. So again, flashing back to, no, I mean, really, I'm glad you're amused because it's kind of funny and it's silly. But until I got into a situation where I really, really had to reflect on what I did, I'm like, wait, that's dishonest. Like I had an Oprah,
Wait a minute. How is that dishonest? How is having the talk dishonest?
It's dishonest. Well, I think it's different with age. I'll use myself for example.
All right.
But like I said, this was years ago. But I knew within the first month that I wanted it to be more serious. I know I'm not casual girl, right?
Right.
I know, but I misrepresented. And I misrepresented, which I feel is dishonest because that's what everyone always said. Like, don't push it, don't rush it, don't.
Right.
But realistically, how would things have been different if I would have said, listen, I like what's happening here. I feel like there's something here. I'm not a casual girl. Let's see where this goes. I know what I want. So do you know what you want? Versus I'm hanging out, I'm easy breezy. Oh yeah, you're going out with your friends this weekend. Maybe I'll see you next week. But meanwhile being like, well, I really want to see him, but I don't want to push it and seem needy and seem clingy and be that girl. And then wait until however long, 4 months, 5 months, and, kind of like do the whole, well, wait, where do we stand? And he's like, what do you mean? Everything's great because it's been going his way. So that's why I say it's dishonest. So then how can I be mad if I've been like, yeah, everything's good. And then all of a sudden I'm like, no, now everything has to change. Or because I feel this way, shouldn't you feel the same way, or shouldn't your behavior fall in line with my behavior or the time frame?
Let me ask you this relative to that, because I think that is one of life's great mysteries relative to singles. Mm-hmm. And where I tend to find in my own life, and I think I can safely speak, not for everybody, but for a lot of folks relative to this. When you're into somebody, and maybe they're not as into you, or I call it, and one day I might have to do a show with this title. I call it the fitting room, where, so you already know what I'm saying, right? So maybe that title is what I'm going to go with that. The fitting room is, all right, and I think, here's the thing. Even if you are currently single or have ever been trapped in the friend zone, you have at some point had somebody in your life who you weren't really feeling like that, but you like the attention. They call you, they text you, they see about you, they send you emails or whatever it is. Socially, they like all your pictures on Instagram. They like anything you say on Facebook. They first one liking it. You like that, but you're not. They don't look like the floor, but you're not really all that attracted to them to want to go any further than maybe a roll in the hay here and there, right? Everybody's kind of had somebody in their circle that you already know is not going any further than what a you up text. You up? All right, why don't you come on through Netflix, chill, and then, I'm not really feeling it. And if that person puts no pressure on you, you'll go with that until you find whatever the next better option is. We have all done that. It's terrible, but we've all done it. The issue, I think, what happens is in that space in the fitting room, when either you've been tried on or you're trying somebody else on, there is a moment where you kind of wonder, could I see this beyond? Could I buy this coat that I'm trying on? I don't know. It makes me feel good. Can I? And there's usually something that's not quite there that makes you say, nah, I'm gonna put this back on the rack. I don't really want this, but I'll keep wearing it in this dressing room as long as the coat is fine with it. So I don't know that it's so much a thing where. To the point, I think the point would be if you have to wonder or ask, or have to make the proclamation of what are we, if that has to be spoken, if you even have to have the thought of ooh, I need to announce what we are. And you're not getting that affirmed. Heck, if the dude is really feeling you, he's probably going to tell you. In one way or another, he's going to communicate that. You won't even have to wonder, and you'll reciprocate that. The fitting room, you go straight to the counter when you really want it. I mean, think about how many things. I can give you a better analogy with music. There are some artists that you like so much that you don't even have to sample what they put out. You just buy it. You know, there's probably not as many these days, but there are certain folks that have earned the right because they keep putting out hit after hit, and you just resonate with their music. Where you say, man, I don't care I'm just, buy. And then you listen to it and you go, every now and then, like for a while, Prince was on, I just buy his music blind. And then after around 1994, he started putting out a couple things that I was like, I don't know. I'm not really feeling that as much. I might like 2 or 3 songs off of it, but not the whole album. Now, mind you, since he passed, there are things that I didn't appreciate as much when I got it because, with him, he's such a genius that he's 30 some odd years ahead of whatever he made and so forth. So he's so dope that I never blame him. I just blame my own ears. I'm like, I wasn't ready for whatever he was putting out. But, it reached a point where once you feel like, I don't know if I could buy this blind, then, now I'm going to start listening to samples and different things. And I don't think you can do that with certain things. But my point being, if you really want to be in something with somebody, and I think this is part of the beauty of being 40 years old, because not that I'm saying that everybody does this, but I think more people want to just be 100 with you and be straight up. If you're really feeling somebody and you want to go straight to the counter, I personally do not see the issue in saying that. And if a person is really into you, I promise you that we all know in about the first 10 minutes of meeting somebody on that date or whatever it is, whether or not just from a pure feel, vibe, look, what have you, because again, these days you can scope out socially. If you're dating somebody that you're connected to on Facebook or interested in somebody on Facebook, most people are putting out their thoughts on random things. You can get enough of a collection of who they are inside of about a month of just following their posts. You know what political things they're into or what their interests are, what music they like, what random things, what time of day. I mean, it's all right there. That whole collection, that segment of data. You spend 30 days following somebody on Facebook, and for the most part, you know what their representative looks like. The only thing you don't know is how crazy they are. And that's the piece you got to figure out. But you'll know if you spend some time with somebody, 1 or 2 dates, generally speaking, maybe by that 3rd date, you got a sense of they're crazy. If you ride in a car with somebody and they're impatient, you're like, okay. Or if they're broke, you'll know that. All that stuff starts to come out and you'll say, okay, is this package something that I can deal with? Is the collection that I got from social, interaction enough for me to say, all right, I can deal with this crazy. If it's this, I can deal with this because I got this. But if it's this, like where the things I like, are far beneath the crazy, well then no. But my point is, if you've been hanging out with somebody 3-4 months and you're doing things that kind of feel like they'd be in a relationship, but you're not in a relationship, you haven't met any of their friends, all those things. What did Chris Rock say? You are not his girlfriend. And the best thing you could do is get out of that fitting room. That's the best, because all that will happen. And I've been a victim of this way too many times. People will use you for attention. And what will happen is they will go on with their lives. And then once they're done, once you acknowledge or dare you say, hey, can we be more? And then they got to do the what I like to call the ha-ha shuffle. Well, I'm not really, see what it happens. You feel
Okay.
me? Yeah. You feel me? So when they once they start that ha-ha shuffle, then you got to do it too. It's a dance nobody wants to do. They don't want to tell you. You don't want to be having to play it off to try and, recover what's left of your self-esteem. And what you end up doing is adding a chapter to your low sense of self-worth that will take months. And what'll happen is the next dude that comes along, or the next young lady, in my case, that comes along, is going to have to navigate through the mud of that experience that has now been piled on. It'll impact it. Yeah.
Each individual navigating their own mud.
Yeah, no, you're right.
How I mentioned like a bad breakup years ago. That's why it was years ago.
Well, what happened? What happened with that breakup? So you were now let me ask you this. You call it a breakup. Were you all together?
Yes.
Or were you hanging out?
Nope,
Netflix
together.
and chilling. Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Together, trading I love yous. Oh, I could see us married, all that. So now,
okay.
Right. So I think in that instance, it was very much, I don't want to say a mind game, because that would be assuming that it was like this elaborate ruse. I think it was a combination of all the things you've mentioned, right?
Right.
Like maybe it started out as a fitting room and I missed it. Or maybe there was a ha-ha shuffle, but no, wait, it seemed it was all just kind of messy. And, I finally was like, look, but, it can't be both things. Like, you can't say that you love me and some of the time act like we're in a relationship and then sometimes try to be like, we're just chilling. Like, it can't be like, this is good for this 2 weeks and then the next week, oh, something came up. Like, that's too confusing for me. And I
don't even know what to call that. That sounds, yeah.
Call it.
Man.
The past.
It sounded like he was he had you on layaway.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah. He was paying as he goes.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that tends to be a habit or a choice I make, even maybe subconsciously. So that's what I say about dealing with the own muck. Because I was like, all right, let's pause. Let's pause and see. No, wait a minute. Right? Because I'm there too. You can say whatever you want about the other person, but I'm there too. So now what is it, or what choices did I make to get here? And so one of the things is, like I said, about being dishonest and not saying, hey, I'm looking for this. That's the first thing. Because if things start out that way, like, hey, we're just hanging out easy breezy, well, why would I expect any person to suddenly be like, oh, okay, let's change out on the drop of the hat? And then you get into the ha-ha shuffle moment where it's like, well, now wait, I like how things are going. I don't want to lose it. So, okay, I'll go with you in this direction. But then ultimately it really was a ha-ha shuffle, because that's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not where it was like, this is a great thing. I can't lose it. Like, everything's great. I'm just not ready to be more than I am right now. And so I'm just going to keep, like you said, layaway. And so then it becomes the question, okay, how is it that I chose that? Which was why I said about each individual dealing through the muck, And, and I have a lot of friends that are like, you should try dating. And I'm like, or let me make sure I ask my own questions. You know what I mean? And figure out, because again, with any experience you're a part of, I mean, there are certain things in life, relationship wise, that people do. You are, quote unquote, a victim of. If someone is blatantly lying to you, that's different. Like, say, like, this is an extreme example, but like a Tiger Woods. They were married. They had a life together, children, everything. And he had a whole separate life. That is a little different than like, oh, I'm going to see where it goes. Let's, like letting things ride, if you will. But, dealing with the individual stuff, okay, well, how did I participate? And, you were talking about what you will and won't put up with. And so for me, it was more like, oh, wait, I didn't realize that I was choosing this, even at a subconscious level. And I didn't realize that this is not something that everybody always deals with. Just so happens that I've met a number of people. But again, then it begs the question, is that what is normal? Is that what I'm used to? Is that what I seek? On more of a individual spiritual level. So then, okay, I have the chance to ask that question, define that, really figure out what it is and where, what the missing pieces or what different choice needs to be made.
Right.
And honestly, for me anyway, it was getting honest with myself. What is it that I really want? Like more at an existential level versus saying like, oh, I want to get married and have kids. Well, why do I want to be married? Why do I want to have kids? Is there a feeling I expect to have? Is there an experience I expect to have from those circumstances? And if say that experience for me is the idea of like, well, if I have a husband and children, I will experience unconditional love. So do I really want the husband and children, or do I want the unconditional love? And then for that matter, can I find the unconditional love without the husband? And without the children? And does the unconditional love come from something more than my circumstance? And so am I, for lack of being cliche, am I looking for love in all the wrong places?